Good morning, everyone. Let us listen to the sound of a chime this morning that sat on my mother's piano. This morning we gather in this beautiful autumn air. We affirm our collective hope for peace, and we acknowledge that these lands that we love are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Wipukepas, the Tolkepayas, the Cuevkepayas, and the Yavapai. We begin this morning with a video about International Children's Day that is being celebrated across the street from where I am with our children. Let us join our hearts with theirs.
World Children's Day, everybody, first established more than 50 years ago. Each year, UNICEF says it's an opportunity to promote a peaceful, safer world for the next generation. Tonight, adults you might recognize are asking children what world they want to grow up in.
This is our planet. This is our day. A kid is just a kid, they say. But when the world opens its eyes, it will see us for who we are. Masked, not muted. You and I.
You know, World Children's Day is about listening to young people's voices and understanding what young people today want. If you had to say something to, youth around the world, young people your age, what would you like to tell them?
My message to them will be simple, that never be afraid to challenge the status quo.
If you were in charge of the United Nations, what would you change?
Well, if I was in charge of the United Nations, I would change how people think about the environment and the earth, because we only have one environment, so we need to protect it.
I'm going to give you the last word. Is there anything you would like to say to all the children around the world who are watching on this day, who would like to be activists, who would like to be more involved in the way the world should go or become?
Yeah, my message could be, keep spreading peace, love, and unity. And I would like to advise, wash your hands, stay at home, and keep healthy.
Nedo, that's a fantastic message.
Welcome to this crisp fall sunlit morning at Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Prescott, Arizona. I'm Bronwyn Butterfield, your worship associate for today. Our hearts are filled with joy that you're able to join us. We hope you are in good health and blessings of well-being to each and every one of you. According to researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the desire for social interactions triggers the same neural activity as a food craving. So instead of breaking open that pint of, Haagen-Dazs Heaven ice cream or that bag of Cape Cod sea salt potato chips after the service, join us in the breakout rooms to socialize with one another. If you are joining us for the first time, please check out our website for more information about us. Prescott, us.prescottuu.org. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all ages, and serves the world we live in. Although we are physically apart, we still are in community. Our meetings and activities continue weekly via the internet. Check the weekly peak, our website, the order of service, and Reverend Patty's videos for updates and announcements. I have several announcements. This week's Zoom meetings are Together Wednesday Forum, Wednesday afternoon Faith Development classes, and Friday Lunch with a Minister. Prescott Peace Builders is partnering with Granite Peak UU congregation to show the film Mission, Joy, Finding Happiness in Troubled Times. It will run twice on November 30th from 4 to 5:30 and again from 6:30 to 8. Bev and Robert, our Children's Faith Development Program leaders, are thrilled to resume classes in person. They need volunteers for our nursery and children's faith development classes, which we will begin hybrid services on December 5th. So that's when they need the volunteers. The theme for November and December for them is Holidays Across Cultures. Latino Immigrant Network Coalition, LINC, needs bakers and elves for their drive-through event on December 12th. Please read more in your order of service. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighting is A Fire in the Universe by Sean Trapp. Our chalice reminds us of that fire within ourselves is the same fire that illuminates the universe. It is our reminder that all is connected, even though the space of the void is vast. And our experience here is but a blip in our cosmic timeline. This flame is our promise that in our smallness and our short time on earth, that we live intently and deeply with love for one another, with honesty and integrity, to be guided by rational thought and critical thinking, and with a sense of shared responsibility. For as the late astronomer Carl Sagan reminded us, this pale blue dot is the only home we've ever known. Whoops, get another match. We light this chalice as a symbol of our heritage in gratitude for this beloved community. And now our gathering words.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to begin today with the Thanksgiving address of the Onondaga. And this address is given every morning by school children of that nation, like our own covenant. Thank you. Today we have gathered, and then we look upon the faces around us. We see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now let us bring our minds together as one as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. And now, with our minds being one, let us sing together, We Give Thanks.
precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
And now please join me in saying our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now I invite you again to listen to the sound of this chime, and let us take a deep breath together. As we breathe together, I invite you to find your center, to feel your feet on the floor. Or if you are in bed, to stretch your feet out under the covers and to consider what lies beneath us, that earth that has supported our lives all of our years, the many layers of history becoming warmer and hotter until we reach that fiery core, ever changing. I invite you now to reach upward into the autumn sky and up, higher and higher to that world well known by Drew Potter, that world of stars and planets. Let us go farther and farther until we could almost touch those stars of that universe that stretches forever and, like the earth beneath us, is always changing. Each of us brings joys and sorrows to this place. We carry them, sometimes even without knowing. And in the silence of this place, I invite you to remember what you bring with you on this beautiful autumn day. As a community, we especially remember the transgender people of this world. It was the Transgender Day of Remembrance yesterday, the day when all over this world, the many transgender people who have lost their lives to violence are remembered. We continue to hold the many in this community who are living with challenges. First, we hold all of us who have experienced the loneliness of this pandemic, and those who have experienced special challenges, like Ainsley O'Donnell and her son Hokulani, who tested positive for COVID a couple of weeks ago and have been in quarantine. We hold Karen and Mural Hagberg as they go through challenges, and Peter Eldridge. We hold Karen Anderson, who had another surgery this past week. We hold Dan and Sandy Reardon and their ongoing challenges, and Janer Eldridge and Eunice Lovejoy. We hold Pocahontas and Jean Gertler, although far away, are still within the reach of our hearts. We hold Jack Stanton, who will be going through a procedure on Tuesday, and Judy Davis, who continues to go through challenges, as well as Ed Rosage. We have sorrow that our astronomer, Drew Potter, and his son, Tom, and his family will be relocating to Tucson. We have sorrow, and we send them our heartfelt wishes for a joyful landing. And now I invite you to say the names of any who are on your hearts and minds. In this country, where we celebrate the history of white settlers arriving on the East Coast, let us hold that history and the present hope for reparations for that history. Let us hold the leaders of the many countries of this world, especially the leaders of those countries that have refugees at their gates or within their boundaries. May they have courage and wisdom. May they see opportunity. May their minds and hearts, may all of our minds and hearts turn to the beauty of this earth and to the value of each human life. And now I will begin a time of 2 minutes of silence, during which I invite you to consider especially what you are grateful for at this time. After those 2 minutes, I will offer a meditation prayer. Spirit of life, the great spirit Manuel Lucero called upon last week. We are here. We give thanks at this time of harvest. We give thanks for this earth that has supported our lives. We are grateful for all the gifts that come to us, that give us rest and joy, that spark us to action. We ask for understanding and for a way to find gratitude so that we can greet the earth and humans from a place of thanks. In your many names we pray. Amen. And now let us sing with Lena and Russ.
This is the time in our service when we normally gather the offering. We embrace the feelings of connection and community when we gather each week. Your generosity supports this congregation and its programs. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. And during the month of November, our recipient is the Salvation Army's Winter Warm-Up Cold Weather Shelter. They have taken over for the Operation Deep Freeze. Please read about them in your order of service and the newsletter. To give during this distance time, please go to prescottuu.org. On the bottom left-hand side, click the word Donate to contribute. The link is also available in the chat on this video. What is received in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be.
The photograph and the singing was Pete Seeger. Thank you, Pete Seeger, for your gift to this world. Our reading this morning is by Melody Beattie. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Let us listen to the vision of another singer. Together as a country and as individuals and as a community, we are on the edge of that time-honored celebration of Thanksgiving. Many of you have memories of wearing a pilgrim hat in an elementary school play, or perhaps, ouch, an Indian feather. I wonder how many of you have those memories. And now today, in this sacred space, we also hold memories of time spent with loved ones around a table, sharing food, our gratitude overflowing, not around that pilgrim story, but for our loved ones, and of course for the offerings, of which we each have a favorite. I wish that I could eat one more time my grandmother Amy's apple pie and watch her peel an apple with one long peel, which I never learned to do. And I am relieved I never have to eat my great Aunt Virgia's dressing with giblets cut into it ever again. But most of all, I know that in this moment, we are called to transform our vision of this day, Thanksgiving. We need to hold the complexity of the history that we were honoring, that we are highlighting, an encounter between settlers and indigenous people an encounter that ended in genocide for the indigenous people. The gratitude offered on that day so long ago was short-lived, was not a long-term gratitude grounded in our first Unitarian Universalist principle of respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every person. For after the crisis of food was solved, then the settlers, among them some of our ancestors, began eyeing the property, staking claim, and restricting access to the people who had lived and been nourished by that land for millennia. Of course, that process too took many, many years. And yet I believe that in order to heal these wrongs, we still need gratitude, because gratitude is the only way to move ahead, to make change, to find happiness. It is the grounding of everything. Our Granite Peak story, which is the star of this message, is not quite as complex as the story of the Mayflower Pilgrims, but like any history that involves humans, there have been twists and turns. Long, long ago, there was one congregation in Prescott named Prescott Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And then among the people who became members of this Prescott UU Fellowship, there were people who wanted a different way. They wanted to have a minister. And eventually it was this desire for something different and to develop a faith development program that would welcome children that caused a group of people to leave Puff and begin Granite Peak UU congregation. And I know this is simplified, but I didn't want to have this be the star part of our story. And over the years, this break into a new community has been healed. And we still need to be intentional about working together and extending ourselves to each other in friendship. We do joint projects like Empty Bowls. And before the pandemic, we had an annual picnic. And in October, just last month, we had a service together, the first one of a 4-part series. And on December 19th, Meg Borman of Puff, who's a marvelous performer, will give a performance service around solstice in our sanctuary that would be good for many of us to attend. She will also be speaking next week. And through the years, Granite Peak has welcomed 6 ministers, very different from each other, and has been involved in numerous projects. And the story of that mural is the one that came floating to the surface of all the stories. For some, the story of the mural is a new one. For others, it is the story of Miller Valley School and a large mural on one of the exterior walls that pictured children of color, one very prominently enjoying themselves playing. This caused a racist ruckus in Prescott, especially a city councilman who had a radio station who wanted to have the boy's face whitened. For those of you who have lived through these times in 2010, how many of you have lived through these times? Okay, quite a few of you, but some of you have not. So I'm going to tell you the news from KNAU. This is a direct transcript. It is June 23rd, 2010, and in Prescott, Arizona, an elementary school mural has stirred up racial tensions in Prescott. The controversy came to a head when artists were ordered to lighten the face of a Hispanic boy depicted in the painting. Arizona Public Radio's Laurel Morales has the story. The Miller Valley Elementary School mural depicts 4 children, 2 white and 1 Hispanic and 1 Black, modeled after actual students. It covers 2 whole walls of the school located at the busiest intersection in Prescott. The entire school was involved in choosing the design. The controversy all started when City Council member Steve Blair aired his views during his radio talk show. This is what he said. "Why do you have to keep dragging up diversity? It's like the gay pride parade in San Francisco. I don't care who you are or what you are, but you don't need to try to shove it down everybody's throat." He continued to bring up his distaste for the mural, saying it defaced a public building and didn't represent the community he knew. The school population is 1/3 Hispanic. What I want to talk about was that outrageous mural at the Miller Valley Elementary School. I was totally offended. It looks like a bunch of freaking illegals jumping over a fence. I called down to the Prescott Unified School District Board office, talking to the secretary there. I asked her about the theme of the mural, and she said the theme was to promote diversity and to promote minorities. Why do we need to do that? That's what I said. The elementary school students helped paint the mural. The artists had almost finished painting Mario, the Hispanic child depicted, when the school principal and teachers told them to lighten the face. They said it appeared that a shadow was cast over him. Soon people rose up in outrage, and Granite Peak was there. Let us listen to Joe Sprague talk about what happened.
When he said, "I think that one is too dark skinned. That's not typical of our community. The mural painter should be forced to lighten the skin color on that prominent kid in the middle." That's when the community really started to protest. We didn't use email very much those days, except for individual things. And this was kind of a breakthrough event for us in that we all had email lists of our yoga class, our book groups, our neighbors and friends. And so we just spread the news of this protest that was coming up. And still, I think, when we got there that Saturday morning, we were kind of stunned by how many people were there. And this got a lot of national publicity at the time. There were journalists there and so on. So it was a thrilling and exciting day for us. Reverend Dan Spencer had been out of town and was visiting in-laws, and he kind of assumed that whatever was going on was kind of an aesthetic, artistic argument among the usual groups. And when he learned that, in fact, these were not just renderings of some typical school kids, they were actual kids that had been elected by their fellow classmates to be featured on this mural, that's when he said, these are not generic people. This is a kid. He's got a name. His name is Mario. And we are telling Mario that he is not okay. We're telling Mario that his skin is too dark to be in Prescott. And that's the moment that Dan started driving back to do his part in organizing this protest, and that he talked about again on Sunday morning. We acted quickly. We got outside. I'm not saying we were the official organizers. There were other people who had the idea, but we moved faster and bigger than we had up until that time, I think, to pull a community together and make a stand about this. That school was right down the street from us. And it was a school where there were lots of children of color and lots of children of low income. And after that Sunday service, we were all saying, we've got to help that school. And we began to brainstorm that very morning. We could do this, we could do that. And it was Paul Mitchell and Dan who said, wait, we shouldn't decide what kind of help they need. Lena Hubin and Cheryl Berry had put this class together and started teaching it. There were about a dozen women that came up. They still had their preschool kids with them, and these babies and so on were sort of in the way. So we brought a babysitting crew in and put them in a different room, and they took over. And then they needed more help with a group that size, and 2 people with ESL experience. There were others, but Warren Miller and Annabeth Robinson started helping out in the class, and Warren brought his guitar and banjo along, and these women were a little uninhibited, but he got them singing songs in different languages. So it just built. And from that, then the group itself started saying, other parents, well, we want a class too, but we want it at night. So we started a night class and got different teachers involved. And pretty soon people found out that any Monday night you could drop your kids off. They would be supervised and told to do their homework. And so parents who didn't even come to the language classes, it's almost like the Monday night homework thing overtook the class that it was linked to. And so the thing just grew in really fun and interesting ways. And, oh, we've got these kids here at 5 o'clock, and someone went out and got pizzas donated for every Monday night. And we got so involved with them. We were, they had the equivalent of PTA, I forget their name for it, but the Latino parents came, but they weren't very much involved in the leadership. So we brought the food one night, and our choir came and sang, and we got acquainted with them. And after that, they asked us if we would help them with their carnival they had every year. And so we were running raffles, and I was helping with little baby horses that someone from a farm had brought. And it just became a real partnership. And they kept saying one more thing we could use. And it always surprised us. And we were always, it was so convenient. It's close to our school. Older people were not uncomfortable going there. They knew where to park and what to do. It was just a great experience.
Yay, Granite Peak. Wonderful. Thank you, Joe, for telling us what happened. And I imagine that those of you who were involved in the congregation at that time are remembering those exciting moments, the passion of those demonstrations, and then the connections that developed over the next weeks, months, and years with the students, their parents, and the teachers of Miller Valley School. I imagine this building was buzzing with activity, energy that was well spent. We as a congregation were listening, and then we were responding. Later, unfortunately, Miller Valley School was closed and demolished. I don't think because of the mural, because there were fewer children in Prescott, but it could have had something to do with that. And someone has suggested this before, but I wonder about having a smaller replica of that Miller Valley School mural on our Faith Development Building for us to remember this time and to keep this history alive in Prescott and in Granite Peak. So what does gratitude look like? Gratitude cannot just be words. Then we return to that first Thanksgiving and the way it was celebrated, with all of the fine words piled one upon the other when the actions were the opposite. Gratitude for that day when people on the edge of starving received food could look like reparations in 2021. And spending some time on Thanksgiving Day, sitting quietly, having a different kind of ceremony of remembrance. In our community, we show our gratitude to one another. We show our gratitude for this community by listening to each other, by showing up when it is inconvenient to show up. Listen carefully and with respect to an idea that we initially think is a little wacky. We still need bakers and elves for our Link Christmas project. That is a good way to show gratitude, and you can contact Suki Jones. And on November 30th at 4 and 6 p.m., bring a friend to movies with meaning, even if that might not be just your thing. And if our actions are in place, words are very important. The words of gratitude that you have sent to me are my treasure. I have them on the back of the large table in my study, which is a kind of altar space with rocks, shells, photographs of loved ones, and paintbrushes. Your words are there. I wish that I could give you some certainty for the road ahead, but we all know that there is no certainty. And if the past is any indication, we at Granite Peak will act with courage when there is a need. People will emerge with ideas that catch our imagination, that make us want to get out and support them with our time and with our energy. A grounding in gratitude gives us a foundation for whatever we encounter up ahead, such as the coming Thanksgiving Day. Gratitude opens the possibility for transformation. Living with gratitude for where we have come from will lead us into a brilliant future right here. Come and go with me to that land. Let us sing together. Come and go with me.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land.
We have a history. May we build on that history through our gratitude for the energy, the love, and the connections of our past. May we show our gratitude in the way we are with each other through listening and through joining in. And holding that gratitude, may we listen for the ideas that will carry us into the future, always moving forward, never turning back, never turning back. Amen, and may it be so. And now we will extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now I invite you to wait and join the breakout rooms. I will be joining the visitors who are with us in Davis Hall, sending you all love, and I hope you get to eat your favorite food this Thanksgiving. Hopefully some of you even have Barb Nye's apple pie to eat.